Okay, hello everyone. So this is part one. This is the road to Belgrade, and we're wargaming the siege of Belgrade. But what I'm playing now is the actions that Suleiman and his viziers ordered ahead of the siege. So they sent orders to Sarajevo, that's the Ottoman capital in Bosnia, that borders the Kingdom of Hungary. And I made a video about the map already, but just to go over it again. So in blue, we have the Kingdom of Hungary held fortifications. Red, we have the Ottoman fortifications. And I already drew out some moves that some of the fortress commanders made. So and I'm keeping a little calendar here. So June 1st, the order is sent to the Beg of Bosnia, and by June 8th, I gave them a week. That's when all of the fortresses are basically mobilized. And June 9th, the action we're about to play, our Hungarian captain, Német Károly, moves to attack Iskander Beg here in between Dobor and Doboj. Now, what I did before I started filming, I'm going to be playing these engagements with Pikeman's Lament, which is a nice little set of rules, played it a lot on the channel. And what I did was I realized that Pikeman's Lament has, some role-playing elements to it that'll help me figure out like what maneuvers people make. So I went ahead and rolled traits for both of our commanders for this engagement. So Iskander Bey, who holds the fortress at Doboj, I rolled a 3 on the chart. He got ineffectual, so he doesn't give his troops activation bonuses. And so what I decided was probably it's difficult for him to get his guys to move. He's probably going to do a lot of threatening and pushing them forward. And since this is a border region, he's got a lot of volunteer troops, so called the Akinji, and guys like that. So, they're motivated mostly by loot. They're not paid a salary like a janissary, and they don't have a feudal fief like a Timar. So he might have a lot of those guys. So he advanced 1, and the hexes are not a scientific kind of scale. Just to clarify, I just decided that each hex represents about a day's ride on horseback, or about as much as like an army can march in a day. So I think that's about like 15 to 20 miles, but it's not that scientific. But anyway, so they advanced here to this kind of area here, and our Hungarian captain, I rolled his trait, and he is a Lion of the North, so he gets to reroll 1 activation per turn. And I figured since sounds like that means he's probably a really inspiring commander. He's gonna get his guys. They probably know. There's probably been news that the Turks are moving, and so Károly is going to advance out, and they're going to meet the Ottoman raiding expedition. Now, another thing I did was I decided, since Pikeman's Lament also is a point system, what I thought is what I'm going to do is roll to see. I'm going to think of it more as like the money that each captain has, and I'm going to do it for all the engagements we end up playing. So each captain is going to have a certain number of ducats in the case of the Hungarians, or akçe, silver coins, in the case of the Ottomans. So I rolled on a D100. So our captain, Német Károly, has 27 ducats. So that means that he can spend up to 27 ducats per kind of engagement, or not per engagement. That's all he has, basically. That's the amount of money he's been given. So I think if a unit is reduced to combat, is reduced to half casualties or less, that unit is destroyed, and he would need to spend ducats to get a new one, and same for the Ottomans. So he's got 27 ducats. Iskander Bey has 69 akçe. there's no difference in the currency. It's just, I'm just naming them differently for role-playing purposes. But so Iskander Bey is not a super inspiring commander, but it seems like he has more money in his treasury, so that could prove useful. So that's the background, and then I'm going to assemble the forces, and then we will commence playing. Now, these games in Pikeman's Lament, because of the way the activation works, they can often go on a little too long. For these, since this is part of a campaign, I'm going to play them out for 6 turns, so 6 turns of Ottoman and Hungarian player, and then by the end of the 6 turns I'll assess, because the other thing is these battles are not, you know, at least for the Ottoman objective, they're not like the kind of final you know, confrontation. They're just raiding, and the Hungarian captains, most of them will probably want to try to help Belgrade later, hopefully. The Hungarian nobility in this period was kind of tricky to deal with, but anyway, we'll just say that they probably want to go support Belgrade, because they're going to hear news soon that the main army is advancing onto Belgrade, and you know, they if they can, they want to try to get over here, so they don't want to get bogged down either. So that's why I'm going to cap these games at about 6 turns, and then we'll see what happens. So, but first we're going to just play this engagement out, see what happens, and so this is the end of the background, and then we'll get into the actual game. Okay, it's been a difficult march for Iskander Bey, here leading his Timuriad retainers. As the Bey of Bosnia, though, he was given this position thanks to a family connection. Unfortunately, though, he is not a very capable officer, and his men do not seem too interested in pressing an attack on Dobor. So they've camped near this stream to rest and recover, and with him he has his Akinji, which for the purposes of our game here are dragoons, as you know, horse archers, and he's got some Azabs with spears that he's pressed into service from the villages near the fortress of Doboj, and as I said, he has his Timuriad retainers. However, our Hungarian commander, who as we rolled, is quite shrewd, and he was able to win the initiative roll, and he gained the element of surprise. So the troops are not yet aware that this element of Hungarians is moving in. It's the early hours of the morning on June 9th, 1521. So we will begin the game with activations from the Hungarians. With the dawn darkness, the Hungarian troops have managed to move in a good order with no failed activations and move into position. However, the sound of men and horses moving has become too loud to ignore. Although the musketeers here were able to move into cover of the woods, and they are maybe undetected. We'll see. That's something I've added. This isn't in Pikeman's Lament, but I'm going to try to see if we'll do a roll to see if the Akinji can kind of check out if they are there. So actually, we'll make it an opposed roll. So we'll do, how good are the musketeers at hiding versus can the Akinji detect them? So musketeers roll 5 at hiding, Akinji roll 4, so they do not detect them. So these musketeers are in a covered position and they can shoot. But they have now been alerted, and now we will begin Iskander Bey's command phase. So these guys are going to probably move up, and we will see what happens. Okay, so at the end of turn 1, both sides managed to activate in good order. and the Ottoman troops were able to all advance up, and then we will begin turn 2. So let's see what I think our shot. We'll try to fire into these Akinji light cavalry. So shot needs a +7 to attack. Yep, 10. So they make it. So they're going to fire on these Ganulu. And they have first salvo, so they get a +1 on the die. Since it's their first shot in the combat. So let's go ahead and roll and determine what happens. So the arquebusiers fire a volley out of the tree line into these skirmishing cavalry, and they inflict 2 hits into their flank. So now these guys have taken 2 casualties, which I need to mark with another die. Because of the shock of the musket fire, the Akinji did not succeed in consolidating themselves in their morale check. So in addition to the 2 casualties, they now must retreat, and they will retreat 3 inches, half their move distance. So yeah, 3 inches, I think, in this direction. And they are now wavering. I think now the pike will continue advancing. The Ottomans will have difficulty trying to charge the pikemen. And they 8, so they succeed, so they will just move up a short distance, 3 inches. And I think now the path is clear for these Captain Nemet's cavalry to move up. 10, that's a successful activation, and his hussars, light cavalrymen, will advance up 5 inches. Now I think the musketeers here, they have, they're within range of 9 inches, so they will go ahead and fire at these guys, but it will be a long range, so they will take -1, so essentially it will negate their bonus. So we gotta see if they activate first. 5. And nope, they do not activate, so they fumble their match locks, I guess, and they do not activate, so that will end the beginning of turn 2. At the beginning of the Ottoman turn, the Iskandar Bey's unit of Spahi charged, and Captain Nemet's unit countercharged successfully, so now they will both attack with their attack values in Pikeman's Lament, and we will see if who will win this combat. But one thing I forgot to do at the beginning of this turn was to try to rally these guys over here, so I will try to go ahead and do that now. Rally wavering units. So with 5 minus 2, they failed their morale check. So it's still wavering. It takes an additional casualty and retreats. Now, I think since we're close to the table edge, I'm going to say that if they move off the table, oh, that's my leg, don't need to see that, they will be rendered, basically they've left the battlefield. And for that'll go for both sides, you know. So if these musketeers that are off camera now get hit and bounce back, they will also flee the battlefield. So I'm just going to say, since 3 inches is the edge of the table, if they can rally on the next turn, they'll come back into the fight. But for now, they're about to lose. But you know, don't worry. The Ottomans still have 2 more units of these guys, and we'll see what happens in this combat here. So, Captain Nemet and Iskandar Bey are about to clash. Their units are about to clash. While both detachments made valiant charges, there was no conclusive result to the melee. Both only landed 2 hits on the other, which wasn't enough to take their stamina down. So they remain locked in combat until the next phase. Now we'll see if the rest of the Ottoman forces can advance up, and then continue. We will begin. After that, it will begin turn 3. So the rest of the Ottoman units have moved forward in good order, and now we will begin the next Hungarian turn, and we will see what they can do. Now, I don't think that the musketeers can fire into a close combat, and they have certainly given away their position. But I think what I will do is they are going to try to move into the camp, and they're going to take the camp and the baggage. So that's a 6. I believe that means they can move. Yep, they can move. And they would get a +1 to their activation bonus anyway, I think, since they're near their commander. And they can re-roll failed activations. I forgot. That's the officer's special ability. So, but they're just going to move into the camp, and if the Hungarians win in this battle, the Habsburgs, sorry, not the Habsburgs, we're before the Habsburgs, if the Hungarians will have captured the camp and the baggage, and that may land them some silver coins. We'll see. So, now I think we continue with the close combat. Okay, I made a mistake. I was mixing rules. So in Pikeman's Lament, if you have a tie, the attacking unit must retreat. So they needed to retreat 3 inches. So I will just do that now, and I made a mistake here with the rules. So they've retreated. It's not quite 3 inches, but we'll do that. So now, okay, now we do the actual activation test, and I think we're going to go ahead and charge. Our Hungarian cavalrymen are gonna charge, and that's a 5. But if that's a fail, he can re-roll as the officer. Well, that would be a 6, I think, with the bonus to activate, I think. So let me check this. Okay, so that'll be a successful attack move, but I think Iskander Beg can still... oh, wait, if he's retreated... No, but he didn't retreat due to a morale check, so I'm gonna stick with this. So let's see, Iskander Beg will do a countercharge, and then we'll fight another combat. So he succeeds, so they countercharge, and they're back where they were, essentially. Oh, these lances are getting hung up on each other. Okay, and then now they clash once again. So the Hungarians make a brave charge, the Ottomans countercharged, and in the melee, the Hungarians took 1 casualty, while the Ottomans did not take any casualties. So now the Hungarians will have to retreat. I believe that would be a success. They would take a minus, that would be 10, -1 on their morale. Which is 3+, so they are certainly okay. And when they retreat, they will retreat. Well, it should be 2.5 inches actually, but I think since we're playing 15 millimeter with these rules, which are designed for 28, we'll just say cavalry can retreat 3 inches or 2.5 inches. Yeah, 3. I think 3 is fine. So I'll just fall back 3 inches, and they will retreat in good order. Now, the next maneuver, I think the pikemen will just stay put, and then these shot will try to fire at the wavering. So that would be 9 inches. So that would be long range. So they'll take a -1 when they fire. Let's see if they can activate. Yep, 8. That's good. And then they will go ahead and fire at a -1. So they will need 6s. And only 1 hit, and that's not going to cause any wounds. So it was a successful volley, but just not very impactful. Now, I think we can... Oh, shoot, did I already activate those musketeers, or was that the end of turn 2? Okay, all right. I think those musketeers did not activate. Now, when you watch this, you will be able to tell me if I'm wrong. These musketeers will activate to try and fire at the cavalrymen. 6, that will do it. And they've already used up their first volley, so that it will be the same thing. They will need 6s. No, sorry. Yes, 5s or 6s. If it's first volley, they get a +1, so basically it becomes 4+. let's see, that's one. Only one hit, and that's not enough to break the stamina of those Spahi, so that will end the Hungarian turn, beginning of turn 3. And now we will turn to the Ottomans. So the first things first, we will see if this unit will rally. So that will be 10 minus 3 is a 7. And so I think they will actually recover. So they will recover. However, they still have suffered 3 casualties. They're just no longer wavering. And they cannot be activated on the next turn, so they're still kind of not in commission. So I think we'll do another cavalry charge here. Charge and countercharge. Yep, Ottomans will charge. And that will be successful. I think countercharge, it's on a 7+. Countercharge, test for an attack at a 7+. But I think our commander would push that up to a 6. Officers give a +1 total to all your ordered activation tests. So I don't know if that would count. Maybe not. I don't think that would count because it's not an ordered activation, it's a response. So, but anyway, they're going to charge again. And attack. So in this combat, the Ottomans inflicted 2 additional casualties onto the Hungarians. Actually, it should be 3, I think. Yeah, 3. Inflicted additional casualties onto the... No, sorry, it's 5. I think I'm getting the numbers mixed up. Inflicted additional casualties, so the Hungarians will retreat and have to take a morale check, and the Iskander Beg was successful. So we will see what happens, and we also need to check for lucky blows to the Hungarian officer. And another thing I think I forgot is that the gallopers, when they win a melee, have this wild charge that they have to make a second move. So officer lucky blows are just shooting, not melee. Okay. All right, now we'll do the melee. And or the morale, and then we will see what happens next. Okay, so the unit oh wait, they got a 5, so it's 0. So they got a 0 on the morale test, so I think that will they're not totally routed. is 0. Oh, final score is 0 or a negative number. Unit loses heart and is routed. So they're routed. So our captain's unit is routed. So unfortunately, even though he was a brave commander, it was too hot. Things got too hot, and they had to retreat. Now that leaves the Hungarians in a tight spot because they have no officer on the field. So I have to see in the rules what happens. Okay, I think I know what I'll do. I'm going to make the rest of this like a fighting retreat. We'll say that our Captain Nemeth, he's still alive, but the unit took overwhelming casualties and he had to just get out of there. You know, this is just supposed to be a patrol. They encountered heavier resistance than they thought. And now I think the task will be for the rest of the units to make a retreat in good order. And that was, we're on turn, Ottoman turn 3. And I think what the Ottomans will do for the rest of this turn is just advance up, and then we'll see what happens with the Hungarian units. I'm not sure if the pikemen would make it, but they might, and depending on who can get off table, I think these musketeers could reach the table edge, and we'll say that that means they were able to get out safely. And then I'm going to say that if the musketeers here can make a move activation, get across the stream, they will make it out with the stuff from the camp. And yeah, I think let's do that, and then we will wrap the game up, even though it hasn't quite been 6 turns. Okay, so here things stand at the beginning of turn 4. At the end of turn 3, the Ottomans failed an activation, a move activation, so their turn ended. And then at the beginning of turn 4, the Hungarians did manage to move these musketeers and these pikemen, and the musketeers over here, really arquebusiers over here, did manage to move and get across the stream. With stuff from the camp. So this was not really a victory, but it wasn't really a defeat for the Ottomans either. Not a victory for the Hungarians, and it wasn't really a defeat for the Ottomans. So I think since Iskander Bey performed admirably in this battle, which was not very conclusive, although a lot of these front border clashes were really not that conclusive, we will say that he can roll for a new trait. So let's see what he gets. So I'm not following the rules for the traits specifically, in terms of like the experience point system in Pikeman's Lament, but I'm just kind of having fun with it. So he did win a victory, and his character, he was not a very inspiring commander, but he did defeat a Hungarian captain, so I think that speaks well for him. So he got 8, so his new trait, strong, so that kind of fits. Yeah, that does fit. So he will get 1 reroll failed to hit die, so he can reroll 1 once. So I will make a note of that in my character notes for these guys. And in the next one, again, we'll try to go 6 turns, but the other thing, I did kind of run out of steam there to keep playing, but we'll keep going with these. So I'll make a note of this on the map of what happened. Now, one thing I considered is, I think I'm going to say that that they recovered D10 coins, so that'll add to the pool of possible points that they have. So let's just go ahead and roll that real quick. So 1, okay. Yeah, okay, so they recovered 1, enough, we'll say enough, probably not coins, but they recovered enough loot that gives them another ducat. So they've got 28 ducats in this company now, and they will probably need those to refresh the cavalry unit of Captain Nemeth. So a kind of maybe auspicious victory for our Iskander Bey, who was not a very good commander, it seemed like at the beginning, but he did win. So, okay, I hope you enjoyed this skirmish, and we will say on the campaign map that I will mark it up and say that the Hungarians will have to retreat back to their fortress, and I think now Iskander Bey will be kind of energized to press the attack, and maybe try to attack the fort. We'll see. So I know this was kind of a longer one, so thanks for hanging in there if you watch to the end, and I will talk to you all in the next video.